Okay, everybody. This is David P. France. I'm coming to you from Switzerland. Currently, I am in Basel. And tonight, at least our time, I'm speaking with Luca Occelli.
Hello, everyone.
And how's it going, Luca?
Hi, David. It's good. I'm doing well. I'm actually in London. Yeah, waiting to go to Italy, but who knows when. But it's okay. I live here as well, so it's fine.
And I met Luca. I mean, how many years ago was it? It's now quite some time, right?
Wow, that's a good question. I would think, maybe at least 6, 7 or 8.
6 years, 7 or 8,
I
right?
think
It's like 6 or
yeah,
7
between
because
6
it
and
was
8.
around that. Yeah, you're right.
I think.
And Luca is a metaphysical counselor. And when I met you, you were sort of in the process, not sort of, you were in the process of studying, but
Yes.
you had already been working in this field at that time, right? So before we go into it and talk more about your background and education and so on, and can you tell the audience what is a metaphysical counselor? What does that
Sure, absolutely.
mean?
A metaphysical counselor is somebody that keeps in mind, yes, the psychological and emotional issues of the person is working with, although is very aware of the person is working with and himself, or basically everybody, of being pure consciousness, energy. You could call the word soul, spirit. You can use it whatever you want. So we keep in mind that we have an holistic view. We are a spirit having a human experience. So that's the difference. And when I work with people, it doesn't really matter if people have, let's say, a metaphysical mentality. And by the way, metaphysics means, meta means beyond, over, above, and physics, of course, is physicality. So metaphysics is concerned, is concerning everything that you can't see, you can't touch, everything on an energetic level, right? So we know, being metaphysicians, the universal laws that they govern the universe, which basically they are the same one which all the religions are based upon.
So it's more in the world that you operate in. It's a technical term for can I say a psychologist who uses metaphysical principles to heal. Would you say? Would you heal to heal people?
Yes. I'll tell you what my theory is. We are human beings. The human part of us is the conditioned, trained, educated part, which is inherent, belongs to the psyche, to the mind. And that it's in the realm more of psychology. Although we are being as well. And the being that I'm referring to, that's the soul, the energy, the essence. And normally when people suffer, there is a kind of dissonance. In other words, the being part, the essence, the soul would like to express itself in an authentic and free way, although the human conditioned, trained, educated part doesn't allow it to express itself. And that's when the conflict comes. So as a metaphysician, what I do, one of my main aim is to give tools to the person I'm working with to connect with their essence, with their inner wisdom, with who they really are. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if something of a psychological nature surface, then we address it with, conventional psychology tools. So that one part of us doesn't exclude the other. They're both operating at the same time. But if you look at people, suffering comes from being restricted, not being able to express oneself like they would like.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, think about this. When we were kids, right? We used to do things without even thinking why. We were just doing things because we liked doing them, right? Until adults came in and they started telling us something on this line. Now, I don't care what you like and what you don't like, what you want to do and what you feel or don't feel. You're going to do what I tell you, and you do this because this is right and this is good. And you must not do that because this is wrong, this is bad, okay? And if you do what I want you to do, which is considered to be good and right, you are worthy of my love, and I reward you with my love. If you don't do what I want you to do, you are bad, you're wrong, and I am not giving you my love. So of course, we stopped feeling into ourselves and honoring what we wanted to do, and we started to please others. That's what the biggest drugs that humankind ever invented came into place, which I like to call it outside validation, outside appreciation, which we confuse it with love, which has got nothing to do with love.
I see. Well, there's so many, you've said so many things. All right, so let me before I go into your background, there are a couple of things that you said. Energy, right? Clarify for people how that manifests itself in the work that you do, if that makes any sense. If that's
sure, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. It's a good question. Energy is it's at the base of everything. It's what holds, it's the invisible glue. It's what holds everything together. What we call sixth sense, it is a real sense. Have you ever heard of the expression, the elephant in the room?
Yes, of course.
You know, when there's, yes. We are in an environment and we can't see anything, although we know it's palpable, the atmosphere. We know that the atmosphere, sometimes we say it could be cut with a knife. Maybe there's an argument has been there, or there's a somber, heavy atmosphere. Right, that's energy. That is our essence. That is the way we vibrate at an intimate level. When we are able, and this is definitely, regardless to what I'm working with, this is always my main aim, to give the tools to allow somebody to connect to this sixth sense, to their inner wisdom. Because when you do that, when you are tapping into the wisdom of your body, basically, which has got a direct link with your being, you then connect with, you could call it universal intelligence, you could call it life. I would say, but some people have got preconcept with the word God, but you could use that word if you can get over yourself about using the words, but you do connect with something bigger than you. And your life will then start to make sense because you're into your senses. Our life doesn't make sense when we are not honoring what our senses tell us. It's really simple. Have you ever been in a situation when you're confronted with a situation or somebody, and something in you, like a gut feeling, told you, yeah, go for it or not, keep clear. And then you didn't listen. And then you tell yourself, actually, this is not too bad. And you talk yourself into going for it, or the other way around. You think, well, actually, no, that's not really good, and you distance yourself, only to find out later that if you had just listened to that gut instinct, things would have been different. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
this
of course.
This is due to one simple fact. Whenever a situation arises, the first questions that pop up in our head are, is this right or wrong? Is this good or bad? And that is this thing we do. I regard it as being the seed of all suffering, judging. Judgment is the seed of all suffering. But again, because of what I told you before, when we were kids, they told us that we had to like, to be loved, what others told us to like. So we started to judge. And we stopped doing something that is organic, anemic, meaning the soul does it, which is discerning. People judge because they think that they have to, that otherwise they wouldn't move a finger, they wouldn't know what to do. No. When you judge, you value people and circumstances with a measurement system that was taught to you. It wasn't your own organic. But you can tap into your own wisdom and discern, meaning recognize what resonates with me and go for it. What doesn't resonate with you, keep clear. Very simple. People with psychosis, people depressed, normally they're people that are not able to tap into their inner wisdom. They're just on the mind surface, that they're just living and focusing in their thoughts, which of course our mind is always worried about the past, judging and criticizing the present and projecting the future.
Well, there are a couple more questions, and you said something like you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll ask that. Elaborate on that a little bit more. Then we go into your background, because this is very interesting.
Sure.
Those are the two things: energy, and you don't have to do what you don't want to do. What does that? I mean, what does that really mean?
Absolutely. What that means that it's, if you are doing what you choose to do because you feel like doing, you are going to be excited. You're going to be in the zone. You are going to be connected to your being and to everything else, because you are playing your part in this beautiful worldly drama. When you do something that you don't really want to do, it's because you have been conditioned and trained to do something or things because you wanted to get something from others. You wanted their appreciation or their love, and you suffer. Okay, let's say you invite me out for dinner. Mm-hmm. If I don't feel like coming, and I say, which is okay, I mean, nothing wrong with anything, by the way. And I think, well, I don't want to offend David, so I'm going to say, yeah, okay, I'll come. Do you think that I am totally present 100% when I'm with you? When deep in myself, I know that I would have liked to be somewhere else. Do you know, at some level, maybe unconscious or maybe conscious, you feel it. You can tell that my energy, when I'm with you, my light is not shining as bright as it could be. Yeah. So I have betrayed me because I said no to me. I said yes to you, but I said no to me. I betrayed myself, which is the biggest betrayal. And I betrayed you because I am actually forcing myself to be with you.
Yeah. What about the cases if the person, let's say, you say, Dave, come on, let's go and do, this, right? And I don't really want to do it, but I say yes. And then I realize, wait a minute, this is actually a great thing. Why wouldn't I be able to sense when the person asked me that it would be a good thing versus having to actually be sold on it and say, oh, wait a minute, this is actually in line with what I truly like to do?
Yes, that's a great question, because that could be what's happening. You think, oh, no, really, and then you end up enjoying yourself very much. I think that depends how tapped into and tuned in with your inner guidance. And it's not always black and white anyway. Many times it's easier said than done. Many, many factors comes in. So it's not so clear, oh, I don't want to do it or I want to do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the more you know yourself, you tap into what you feel. I think that even when you say, oh yeah, I'll do it, you know it. You're not resisting it that much.
I see. And one more thing is, where does someone's gut reaction come into play with this what you're discussing and with metaphysics? And when someone has a gut reaction, which is what you've been talking about,
yes,
more or less, what does that mean?
Then we have to be careful and see each case. It's unique in the sense that we could generalize, and if somebody is in a state of peace and he was educated in a family or in an environment where he or she was mostly at peace, so tuned into his or her inner self, yes, to be connected and listen and honor that gut feeling, it's healthy.
Yeah.
It doesn't always is like this, because let's say I meet somebody and I work with somebody and I don't, well, I would work it out, but let's say I don't know somebody and that person has got an addiction, let's say an heroin addiction, or a heroin addiction, or a strong alcohol addiction.
All right.
They would have what are called learned, acquired instinct. You see, their gut feeling would be get the next fix.
Oh, I see, right.
Or buy the next bottle. So to tell to somebody, you have to be careful, tell somebody, follow your instinct. If they have acquired lots of artificial instincts, it can be tricky. So it's not all black and white. You really have each case, it's to be seen and to be contextualized. But in a state of peace, when you feel that nudge, that something, unless something has happened that triggers you and it is an unconscious trauma, then it's a different story. You know what you want or what you don't want. But the rule of thumb to know when you are in line with your inner self, with your being, it's when you feel at peace. You may feel excited. You may feel mega excited. Although underlying the excitement, there's a strong, solid sense of peace. Or you may just feel at peace. But if there is anxiety, discomfort, and you feel that there's a compulsive component into what you're doing, then we have to look again.
I see. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about your background, where you come from, and because I think this is a very integral. It's the integral part of what we're about to talk about even further, right? So, yes, give the audience a taste of who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
I was born in a very small village in Italy, which is literally between Turin, which is in northwest of Italy, and the coast, let's say Savona. And it's actually a very small village, 10 minutes away from Barolo. I don't know you
Barolo, like in wine. I only know Barolo wine.
Exactly. That's Barolo the wine. That's where they do it. 10 minutes from there. So I was born there in 1770, and I was there until I was 20. Then I came to London at 20 years old. Now, I came because I wanted to learn English, and it wasn't even so much my choice as much as my father and my uncle, that they knew somebody that had been working in a hotel in London. So they told me, why, when you finish high school, don't go to London and learn English. So I came. Now, when I came to London, I started drinking like English people, and I also started taking drugs. And I started taking drugs, and lots of them, because it's in my nature. I'm very curious. I want to experience. And B, my family situation was not really great. My mom was depressed. She was addicted to alcohol. It wasn't a great atmosphere. So in London, I could do whatever I couldn't do in the small village, and I could party. So I stayed in London. And the reason why I'm here now is because 6 years after the death of my mom, which I didn't tell you, I came to London, I was 20. When I was 25, 5 years later, my mom died. She was 47. They said, ask and is given. It's true.
Wait, say it again.
There's a saying that says, ask and is given.
Oh, asking and is giving. Okay.
Yeah.
Asking and is given. Right. You ask like wish, make it ask. Exactly. Ask and it is given. Okay.
Yes. It is true.
Yes. And how is that true?
I remember my mom once, she was right in front of me and she told me, do you know what? If it wasn't because of you and your brother, I want to die. I don't want to live anymore. Well, at the age of 47, she was 47, she died. And she didn't commit suicide. I was in London at the time, I was 25. Now, because of that, there was one more reason for me to go heavy on the drugs and on the drinks. I had few car accidents, but I always was unharmed. And in 2002, 6 years after the death of my mom, one evening I took lots and lots of drugs. I went out and I wanted to cross the road without looking, and a car arrived very fast. It was just after a curve. And I smashed my head against the windshield. I fell on the pavement. The windshield was all cracked. It looked like a brick had been smashed on it. I fell on the pavement and I just stood up and I was absolutely fine. Now, and then everybody came, and the taxi driver, first he was worried because he thought, oh my gosh, I killed him. Then when he saw that I was okay, he was arguing. He said, now you're going to pay for the windshield. And anyway, I carry on and had my nights, my party nights. What is interesting though, it is that 2 weeks after this incident, I was in a bar in central London. It was 8 p.m. I hadn't drank yet, and I hadn't taken any drugs. And this guy, this man that didn't know me, that I didn't know, approached me in this bar, and he told me, this is 6 years after the death of my mom.
Okay.
He said, listen, I have to talk to you. I am a medium. And I was like, what? But I felt goosebumps all over my body. And he went on to say, there is someone here. It could be your mom. She wants me to tell you that she's absolutely fine. She would come down in an instant to help you out, but it's time for you to take responsibility for your life. And be careful from today up to the next 2 weeks not to drink and drive, and not to get into cars with people that have been drinking. He didn't ask me for money. I haven't seen him since.
Yeah.
That encounter changed my life completely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am here to say, I'm not here to say, oh, what is before, what is after life? I'm not here to be evangelistic.
Okay.
What I am here to say is that I went from believing that life was terrible. I was full of negative thoughts, and that's why I was manifesting and attracting car accidents. I used to be thrown from nightclubs. I used to argue with people. I went to feeling like this, to opening myself up to the possibility that life actually wasn't that bad. Because after what that guy told me, I literally looked up and I went, but really with a daring attitude, hey, okay, if there's someone up there, come on, help me out. I want to change.
But let me ask you a question. So when this medium, right, just for the audience to say, this is someone who can see into the future, talk with spirits or
yes,
people who have passed, right?
Yeah, a medium is somebody that has got the ability to connect with spirits. They communicate, they connect with entities, so to speak, to the other side of the veil, meaning incarnated spirits.
Right. And so did that medium reference the car accident, which had already happened? Or
no, it didn't.
Maybe this is the correct. Did you instantly know that the medium was connecting to the past or something that was going to happen in the future?
I didn't know about the future. I definitely thought straight away, oh, wow, there's something that rings true in what he's saying, because like 2 weeks before I was run over by a car, and I used to have car accident. I used to take lots of drugs. So I knew that the sentence, it's time for you to change your lifestyle. I knew what it could have meant. So, but the important thing is that I chose intentionally to believe his word. I am not saying that this is it. This is important. As a matter of fact, until not even too long ago, I used to tell myself, well, because after that, I stopped taking drugs, and I felt much happier with life. And I made a pact with this entity, with life itself. And I said, okay, I thank you for allowing me to be in this state of being. I was feeling even higher, in a higher state, but naturally, and I hadn't taken any drugs. So I made a pact. I said I would do anything from now on to be in this state of being naturally. And I would like to do something with what I found for others.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look,
Yeah.
Just what's interesting though is, I'm with you all the way, right? I mean, you and I have spoken about this many, many times, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many people, for many people, this is perhaps the first time that they're hearing this kind of information, and maybe even the first time they've heard me, as particularly the people that that know me.
Yes.
And they've heard me talk about this, right? So, I at least want to put that out there to people. This might be an issue that people might have problems with. I acknowledge that, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to keep moving.
Right. It's respectful to acknowledge that. Although, one thing I like to add, that yes, until a while ago, I used to tell myself, well, Luca, either you change your mind and your whole outlook, which of course it is, and your whole life changes just because you choose to believe something else, or maybe there is really truly something of a spiritual nature that it's infinite, right? And this life is a dot into infinity.
Oh, geez, right.
And now I tell myself, well, it's both. It's both, of course. One doesn't exclude the other.
So just to be clear again, what doesn't exclude the other? It's
mind over matter. Let's say you believe that life is wonderful, and life is wonderful. You believe that life is terrible, and life is terrible. That was my experience. I used to believe life is, everybody's nasty, everybody's against me. Life it's bad, and if there's a God, it's a nasty being, and so on and so forth. And these thoughts and energy was attracting certain kind of situation. I changed my mind, thinking actually maybe life is wonderful, maybe people are actually nice. And I had another completely, totally different experience of life. So either my mind is so powerful, or maybe there is really something beyond the mind.
Right,
maybe really there is something beyond this reality. And all I'm saying with the skepticals are there. I mean, if you go on to Google or everywhere, there is more evidence of being life after this physical life than not. And tell me something, energy has got one fundamental characteristic. You cannot eliminate it. It only changes form, it transforms. So I regard the human body as if, like, imagine a robot, a machine that without electricity, it doesn't work. Well, it's the same for us. When we die, the electricity in us, the life spark goes.
Right.
I don't think there's anything weird in that.
And we do learn that. That's something that I remember from high school, either physics, about energy, right? Or that you cannot eliminate it. It goes from one form to the next, right?
Exactly. And the universe is self-contained. I mean, we don't disappear.
And look, just so you guys know, although I understand everything that Luca is saying, the young or the former part of me, I guess, the person that I was growing up, is still looking at him with the side eye, right? So no, that both exist, right? I'm there where he is, but there from time to time, I'm looking at him with the side eye. So look, tell us next. So the person walks into the bar, they tell you this information. So what happens next after this?
What happens next? That I felt good. I felt well. I felt at peace and excited about life and about everything.
Mm-hmm.
For me to hear that my mom was still somewhere, it had a huge impact in myself. I literally dropped the fear of death. Do you know, I'm not in a hurry of dying, or what we call death, which to me doesn't exist. It's just that it's like as if I stand up now and I go into the room next door. That's all. You can't see me, but I'm there. I don't believe in that. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Not in a hurry, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm absolutely sure that it's.
And why are you looking forward to it? What is it that?
Because I'm curious. Because I don't believe it exists. I really believe that we are gonna go on into another realm. But even if it wasn't, stay with me. Even if it wasn't, so what? Even if everything finished, I'm going to enjoy my time here.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So after that, and this is the sensations I had, right? So I started to go on my own inner quest. I wanted to know what happened to me. So I stumbled into what is called Reconnective healing. I learned it, then I went into teaching it as well. I worked with the Reconnection for like quite a few years, from like
so
2000.
to be clear, what is reconnective healing? And then I remember you told me about the school, right, or the center. Yeah, explain to us, what is reconnective healing?
Reconnective healing is a hands-off kind of healing, but it's not energy healing. It's different.
Okay.
It's not like Reiki. It's something. When you practice reconnective healing, you are not actually a conduit. You are a catalyst, meaning you allow the person you work with to come in contact with these particular frequencies. Right? So I practiced this modality and I taught it for a few years. And then I started studying metaphysics. So I studied 5 years metaphysics. I became a metaphysical counselor. Then when I finished, I started studying university, clinical psychology. And all these experiences, and now I'm still studying actually, I'm becoming a facilitator of family constellations. Then I studied hypnosis, EMDR, but who cares? Boring stuff. But anyway, I wanted to know from, let's say, a spiritual, esoteric, metaphysic point of view, what is life, and also from a psychological point of view. And you know what happened to me? It's not anything really out of this world. On a pure psychological point of view, when I decided to turn my life around, I substituted the attachment that I had towards my parents, my family of origin, to life itself. And I chose to believe that, let's say, the person that was with me most of the time, which is life, is everybody, it is unconditionally loving. That thought in itself brings peace. Because again, going back to the human being, humans, we are beautiful, but every human system has got a give and a take. The balance has to be right. If I give you, you have to give me. That's the nature of systems, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Although we are to get unconditional love from a human point of view, it's really difficult. Think about it. People are your best friend or your best lover until
you do something.
Exactly. You betray their expectations, right? Their expectation, and then from you being their best friend, you become their best enemy. But when and all I invite everybody always to do is, that's fine, that's all good, that's a systemic reality. But when you bring in the underlying component, which is pure unconditional love, everything becomes much easier. Then I am able to tell you no, knowing that I tell you no, David, because I simply don't want to come for dinner with you, but our relationship, it's intact. And doing that, I honor myself, I honor yourself, I love me, I love you, because truth is love. And I give you the opportunity to do the same with me. I'll give you the opportunity next time, if you don't feel like doing something and ask you, to tell me no, and that's fine with me. But I can do that because my primary source of emotional energy, because emotion and love is pure energy, it comes from, call it the field, call it love, call it God.
Well, a couple of things that come to mind, I'm just going to say them out loud, which is one's ego. Another thing that I thought about was when you said you transferred love from your family of origin to, you went like this.
Yes, which it doesn't mean I took the love away from my family, but
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. How does ego play a role in all of this, and in terms of your transference of love from the family to is this meaning God, or is this meaning, you say, the universe, or is
You
it,
could call it God or
you
whatever.
could,
You could
is
call it
it,
whatever you want.
because
Doesn't matter.
it seems like there are parallels, and maybe we'll talk about it, two separate things. There are parallels to religion or religious ideology when you but you're talking about it in a more technical.
Yeah, it's not about religion. We're not talking about a particular theology or dogma
Mm-hmm.
or God. No. I'm just thinking like life, energy, universe, call it whatever you like. I like the word life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, the ego, how does it react? Is that your question?
Well, the two things are that the ego is sort of saying, like you say, how I allow now, it's almost as if you have freedom, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But for many people, they're not able to do this sort of, you were able to come up with this and say, okay, I need to do this because I know it's going to be good for me. But there are people that can't even get to that point, right? So what's making it clearer for you versus someone else that has no idea of this movement that you have just made as a result of doing this, allowing this to happen? What's the difference between what you
Great question. I would say each one of us comes in this life, is born with a particular temperament, okay, with some particular inherent characteristic, okay? Mm-hmm. So some of us maybe are already daring, like I wanted to do drugs, I wanted to drink, I wanted to push the boundaries, okay? Mm-hmm. There was a rebel in me. And that plus the family situation and the environment all together created the conditions for me to experience what I experienced. Mm-hmm. But each life is different, so you can't really generalize. But one thing I can assure you though, and that's when it becomes really, let's say, tricky in a way. I believe that each and every one of us can live joyfully and at peace. But it's a very conscious choice that you have to make. And with that choice, you also have to make the choice of not tolerate anymore what you were doing that you weren't doing with your heart. It's not always easy, I can tell you that. But what I can tell you also is that when you honor who you truly are, you tap into a power that is, it's infinite. Because when you honor who you truly are, you are playing your part in this universe. I give you an analogy. Imagine bees or flocks of birds or fishes in the sea when they swim, all completely synchronized. They didn't go to school. They weren't trained, right? They're just so tapped into their instinct. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about intuition. Intuition is something, and that's another level. It's more filtered by the mind. Ooh, let me get a pendulum out and see. No. I'm talking about something more organic. If we were tapped into our intuition, I am absolutely certain that each one of us would do their part, meaning in a community, I would be, let's say, the one, oh, I don't like cooking, but I like washing the dishes, so I wash the dishes. Somebody else would say, I like driving, I'll be the driver. Somebody else would say, I like to buy the grocery, to cook and do something else, right? But it gets confusing when we are trained and educated culturally to do what others want us to do. That's when it gets all muddled up.
Right, so in other words, when your parents or society pushes you to be either a doctor or a lawyer, and you don't really have this inclination to be one, and that's where the issues, a lot of the issues come, right?
Yeah. Yes.
This is so interesting. I mean, my mind is sort of going on, but I'm going to, allow you to continue. The question that I have is, or to move back. You were involved, and we talked about this before, you were involved with this center for Reconnective healing. And there were some things that you mentioned during the time of this time that you worked there that you were doing that I want you to bring attention to. Do you remember our conversations about this and why I thought this was fascinating. I mean, because that is, when you told me that, that's when I knew. I said, hey, I'm supposed to know this guy. Like, I know I'm supposed to know this guy.
I don't remember I don't remember exactly what you are referring to.
Did you have a, well, let me be clearer.
Mm-hmm.
There are times where I came to your apartment there, you know, when you and I connected, I was there almost like a sponge, soaking up what it was that you were doing. And I was in the living room and I saw this book.
Oh, yes.
Right? And the book had, was called, I can't remember, it was the author was your...
It's Eric's book, Eric's Pearl, yes. The Reconnection, Heal Others, Heal Yourself.
Right, that's the book. And I asked, and I still have it, it's in the other room.
Yes.
And I remember I was flipping through the book and literally came to a particular name of a person who works in the field, and I had seen some videos of this person. So I said, I think this is the guy I'm supposed to be talking to, because he knows the questions that I'm gonna ask. And you remember, I would ask you question after question after question. We would sit, you know, for hours. And I thought it was very interesting because his story was very similar to you, where I think he, the person's name is Eric.
Yes, Eric Pearl.
Eric Pearl, and how he sort of discovered that he was this person that had a basically healing ability, right? And some person who was a medium told him this, and the whole thing is history. And just so you guys know, I have been to healers and mediums before. You know, I just want you guys to know that I've done, the first time that I went to one was on the recommendation of a friend of mine, who hopefully will be doing an interview with us in the future.
So you're outing now.
Well, I'm outing myself, right? So that's why, but in that experience, that started for me the whole path. That was when I was, I think, 21, and I was living in living or visiting New York at the time, and we went to Jersey City, and this very young woman gave us a medium, what do you call it, session.
A reading.
A reading, sorry. So back to this. So Eric, you had a relationship with Eric, right? Can you describe what that was like in your experience in that?
Well, I stumbled upon Reconnective Healing almost by chance, really. I was at home, and I used to get, I still get it, I think, this magazine in London where there's all spiritual books, mind, body, spirits books. And I saw the title of the book, The Reconnection, Heal Others, Heal Yourself. And literally a little voice inside of me told me, get that book. Right, so I went on Amazon, got the book, I read it, I loved it. And there was 2005. And I was in London. There was a seminar in October about reconnective healing. And actually what got involved, and that was my first big experience with anything in this realm that we are talking about. What struck me, it was the fact that at the time I was 34 years old, and I had a problem with my knees. I used to love running, but for the past 1.5 years, I couldn't almost run because my knee were painful. And doctors told me, well, you're very unlucky that you're so young, but the cartilage of your knees is gone. So you could have infiltrations done, but we don't guarantee anything. So I was thinking, no. Anyway, I went to the seminar. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I walked out from the seminar from Friday in the Sunday evening, and I swear to you, my knees were like new. It was amazing. I was like, what? Since then, I could be running. I never, ever felt I had a pain in my knee since. So I knew that there was something very real in that. So then I became a practitioner, and then the rest is history. And then about in 2004, when I pursued my metaphysical studies seriously. I left the I still practice, by the way. I'm still a reconnective healing practitioner. Just at the moment, I don't teach it. Okay. But yeah, that was my opening into a.
That was your opening. I guarantee you, going to be more questions as a result of this, you know, first, you know, interview with you. Because, you know, and for anybody out there who has questions, feel free to write in the comments. You can email us, because I mean, I came to you, and I saw Luca's seminars on Facebook. I think that's how I saw you. And I said, hey, wait a minute, I think I'm supposed to be in the seminar. That's how it came to me. And, you know, for anyone that has any question as a result of any of the information that we've been talking about, please feel free to contact us. What I'm going to ask you to do is give an example of some of the things that you would do in the seminar. Now, I remember there was a listening exercise, right? There was one. Did we look at we looked at a bottle. Did we look at the bottle?
Well, what I would say that anybody can do it now. And this is the best way that I know of, and the most immediate way, which, by the way, this is not an exercise to be done here always. This is the beginning of something you're doing forever. So we do this because we want to be more present, and when we are more present, we tap into our essence in our body, and we connect with our being instead of being thinking. Because at any given moment, we are either more thinking than feeling. So regardless to what you're doing, give, and I repeat, give as much energy as you can to what you're perceiving with your eyes. You see, active seeing and listening, it's it's an active process. We have to give energy. While you do that, without moving your eyes, like now I'm looking at the camera, pay attention to what you see at the periphery of your visual field. Like I can see the lighting, I can see a clock, I can see a big mirror, I can see a table, okay? Without moving the eyes, you're expanding your consciousness. While you do that, focus as much as you can and give as much energy as you can to what you perceive with your ears. Of course, my voice, but there may be other sounds around you, maybe the car passing by, or you might hear actually the buzzing of your own blood in your head. While you keep doing that, give more energy, as much energy as you can, to what you perceive with your skin, the clothing of your skin. Magically now, a floor has appeared underneath your feet, or a sofa or a chair underneath your bum has always been there. But if you don't intentionally choose to notice it, you don't know it's there. While you keep doing that, pay attention if you got any taste in your mouth, if you can smell anything. And while you keep doing this, just go in and see how you feel inside.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the question. Are you thinking more or less than before? If you did it properly, and by the way, keep doing this forever. When there's a time where you will forget, bring yourself here. Because in every given moment of our life, we're either thinking, preoccupied humanly, or in our being. I'm sure everybody has been in the situation when you were so stressed, so engrossed in your thoughts, and you couldn't pay attention to what was in front of you.
Right.
You literally couldn't listen because it's simple. You were utilizing the finite body energy to think, to your elaborating ability. The other end of the spectrum is, we have all been there, I guess, we were taken by a sunset. We were one with it, speechless, no thoughts. Or we were looking at somebody in the eyes, maybe a cat or a dog or a child, or we were running in the zone, time stops. Well, again, it's because we were utilizing the finite body quantity to be present. We were in our senses. And normally the two states of being, they happen unconsciously. Something happened that triggers us and our attention goes where things happen.
Right.
But my invitation is, when I can teach you that you can choose and generate your state of being anytime, you got it. Then you just, of course, have to train yourself.
And so, in other words, it's like it's getting a sort of, well, it's about being focused. It's a way to focus, but focus on you use the term, on who you really are, or you're beginning to go in the direction of,
yes.
of who maybe you could say your higher self, right? Is that
absolutely? You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. I exactly like to regard it as being an unconscious part of us, which is the unconscious mind or whatever. Then the conscious mind, which has got 5%, can you believe it, of the joy of the directing abilities of our daily life. But then there's the superconscious, our higher self.
Your
Yes.
higher self.
Yes. Yes.
And your higher self, a lot of times when you're really tapped into it, is almost like it's a guiding principle, right? Or a guiding force that can keep you on your path or direct you, or to let you know if something is really truly right or not. Right?
Yes, exactly. Because it knows it's a part of something bigger, and it wants to do something for the good of everything and everybody involved. Imagine a house with different rooms, with all the doors open. The air in the kitchen has got particular qualities, characteristic. The air in the bedroom, in the hall, but it's still air. That is the being, and it's connected with the others, the air in the other room.
Well, now that you said this, right, I wanted you to give one more example, or a quick example of what you do in a seminar, but then we're going to talk about good and evil. I'll go into it a little later, but it came to my mind, like good and evil, and how that fits in to your higher self.
Yes.
Right. But in terms of another quick exercise, I remember didn't we look at something like a bottle?
Now are you talking about this one? The one with the finger?
I don't know. We stared at something for a long time and everybody's like there, but it was really, what these exercises do, it shifts the attention to a place that allows this other thing to come in, whatever this, the higher self or the true self. It allows you're opening up. It allows for a way of communication. That's how I can describe it. So then, in other words, when you start to do this constantly, you receive information that you would not have received.
Absolutely. Yes, you're right. Spot on. That's what we call people that we call geniuses, like Einstein or whatever. They were very much connected with their essence, their being. And morphologically, meaning energetically, like in the ether, there's like radio waves, TV waves, but our thoughts, they're just the same. And thoughts are in the air, and we receive them. The more you are excited and high, so to speak, well, naturally, with drugs, the more it's almost as if your radio in a radio station can tune in with ideas that they are of a certain level. It has happened many times in history when, in fact, two people in two different geographical regions of the planet, they came up with the same idea of writing a book. And they wrote the same book, and one of them published it, and the other one goes, I can't believe this. That was my book. Do you see what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
But yes, as you say, because you can tap into this. It's the knowing field.
Yes.
In a family constellation, we call it the knowing field.
Oh Lord! Like, I think it's so much that we have talked about that. I mean, we could go into specific things, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to jump to what's happening now. We're not going to call the name of it, because what I've heard is that when you do that, you sometimes will get a strike on your video or something. But we'll say this situation, the current situation that we are in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What is your take on what's happening now? And before, I was supposed to ask you about good and evil. Is there such thing as someone who is gifted to be evil, to play a role of evil? What is your feeling on that?
Yeah, I personally don't think that there's an evil energy. I really don't think that this is two power. That is duality. That is the mind. The yin is the yang, but everything is one. Okay. I believe that what we call evil, it's ignorant of something. It believes in the human illusion of duality. Like me is me and you is you. And so I have to compete with you because the scarcity of resources and so on and so forth. Okay. And I do not acknowledge a greater power that is more than the sum of the parts.
Okay.
So I believe evil springs from a lack in awareness and understanding, in believing in duality, in separation.
I see. Yes.
But I don't think it's a force. I'm absolutely sure it's not anything. It's like a shadow. But in a dark room, if you put light in it, there's nothing. There's not a force. It's just this black.
Mm-hmm. And what are your feelings on this current situation and how it plays into the work that you have been doing over the last years?
Yes. Well, it's interesting to see how, I really don't know, by the way, when and why and what is happening, really. Yeah. But the situation is that if it's a wake-up call for everybody, and we are all under shock in one way or another, meaning something so sudden has happened, and the way we were used to live, it's completely changed. And people now, they find themselves not having the human stability that they had, maybe their job, their whatever they were getting satisfaction from their hobby or whatever. So they have to really reinvent themselves in a way. So it's like it's an imposed crisis for everybody. But like we know, every crisis has got the opportunity for something renewing, for a bigger growth. You see, it's always a matter of perspective, it's how you see it. I choose to see it as an opportunity. Having said that, I am very wary of the fact that I'm the first one not going out now and saying, oh, this is amazing, we've got an opportunity. No, because there's people that are suffering, people that are really losing families and friends, and it's so, and there's time to process emotions. Everything has got its place. Having said that, after people that they suffer, they have allowed themselves to go through the pain, which is undeniable, and all I can do is be there, create a space for them to feel safe and to express their pain without somatizing. And then, but then it comes a point when you have to choose. Yeah. What is the meaning I choose to give to this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, look, I'm going to end the conversation here. Of course, we have you come back after some time, because I'm sure there's going to be some questions. Mm-hmm. I have some questions, and I know you, right?
Oh, we could go on and on and on.
I mean, I have a lot of questions, right? So, but the way that I've dealt with this is to sort of, if something's in a holding pattern, that's okay, right? Like, the question that I had for Luca before we started our conversation late, I might add, was that I was dreaming, but the dreams are so vivid that I really have an issue with this whole idea of what is a dream, right? But that's another conversation. And yes. What do dreams mean, right? So I think I may have asked you that when I first met you, right? But it's a continuing thing with me. It probably will never be solved, so I'm okay with that, right? So, I want to thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's a long time coming. I think we've been, circling like the planes circle around the airport, right, for quite some time, because, truth be told is that when I saw you on Facebook, I knew that I was supposed to be or have knowledge in what you have. And, just again for the audience, because I'm a dancer, and I would say by DNA or by birth, I have a sense or ability with movement.
Yeah.
This is, our conversations have helped me develop this ability, and using the ability to help a lot of people. So I want to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and we'll be in touch, soon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and take care. Ciao.
Ciao. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.